Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and this is To Back or Not to Back. We're going to be going through a bunch of crowdfunding campaigns. There will be links to everything down below. There will be timestamps, and there's going to be something new as well. Starting this week, and I don't know if it's going to be every time we have a To Back or Not to Back, or if it's going to be select weeks. But basically, later in the week, we're going to do a bit of a Q&A around crowdfunding, around this episode, around the games we covered in this episode, effectively looking back at the To Back or Not to Back episode, this video you're in now, looking through the comments and answering your questions. If you have questions about any particular game, if you have questions about something that I didn't talk about in a game, or if you want to know my opinion on a game, or if you have questions about crowdfunding, or about anything you can possibly imagine tangentially related to crowdfunding or the games we talked about that week, then we're going to go ahead and cover that on a video that will go up on the channel likely Thursday or Friday. There'll be a bit of a conversation around the To Back or Not to Back video that week. Again, I do not know if this will be every single week or this week and then select weeks. We'll see, but that's something new that we're going to be trying on the channel. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into, I have my wrong links, let's go ahead and dive into the video, starting off as always with the Cult of the Now. Cult of the Now is a segment where before we dive into all those crowdfunding campaigns where you can delightfully pay anywhere from like 30 to hundreds of dollars to get the game you want a year or 2 years or 3 years down the road, usually less than 3 years, usually. But before we do that, we dive into the Cult of the Now where you can see a currently available game. In this case, we have The Perfect Wave from The Op. The Perfect Wave, a $35 game that you can get your hands on now. You don't have to wait for it. You can check out reviews on the game now. There's not that many reviews. It's still new, but it's still new and now at the same time. Although if you look on Board Game Geek, there's not a lot of reviews, but the reviews that are there are very positive on this one. I actually have a copy. I'm hoping to dive into it this week. We'll see if I can get it this week. I have a lot of games I'm hoping to dive into this week. But the Cult of the Now, it's a game you can get now at a reasonable price point without waiting, looking at reviews and all of that, and that's going to be The Perfect Wave over on Miniature Market. From there, we're going to go ahead and dive into the campaigns, but before we do, starting off with the usual disclaimer that I do work for Gamefound. As always, I've been doing this series for 3+ years now by now, but I have been working for Gamefound for the past year. Please take that into account as we go through the rest of these videos. And with that, we're starting off with a Gamefound campaign, and it's the not funding category yet. In general, we start with the games that are not yet funding, I should say, because it likely will fund. We have The Wilderness from Board Game Adventures, $25,000 raised so far out of a $35,000 goal, 111 backers, 13 days to go. The Wilderness is almost a boss hunting survival game. The game's going to have you facing off against various beasts who are trying to attack you. You know, you have an epic boss battler game, but you are constantly trying to manage your own characters. You're scavenging for resources. You're trying to manage your different skill trees. Your characters have 2 different skill lines. You're trying to buff them in the right way as you gather resources, as you scavenge spots, as you upgrade bits, as you try to take out the various minions along the way. All while the beast is slowly trying to attack you and defeat you in a variety of beasts that are going to be in the game. And so that's basically what's going on here. We have a basic pledge for $110, we have an expansion pledge for $180, and we have an all-in pledge for $320, which is a whole lot of The Wilderness. It's one of those things where my own personal opinion is I don't think that cover sells the game. I think the miniatures look great. I think the game looks great. The mechanics look great. I think this cover, where is it? I mean, if you see the box over here, that box, where can we find it? Over here. I just don't think this box pops. I think the art is great and the miniatures are great, but something about the way that box cover is presented, I don't think it pops quite as much. Even this still over here, even if you go to this page over here, this already looks much better than the way it's presented on the box, in my opinion, and those are things that can hold back a game. I mean, this had a lot of people following the campaign. It has not funded yet, and I don't know what the disconnect is. The disconnect could be price, it could be the immediate appeal of it, it could be any number of different things, but that is going to be, and also there's not a lot of content around the game too, honestly. I think there's only one video on the game, if I'm not mistaken, a gameplay video from the designers, this playthrough over here, so, and even like the misspelled playthrough in the title, it's not, I think they did need more content around the game. I don't know if they're looking at a cancellation and relaunch, although it might be worth it. I think this looks like the game deserves to be funded more than it currently is. This is the kind of thing that, yeah, I just think it should be funded more than it currently is, so we'll see what happens with that. That's going to be The Wilderness by Board Game Adventures. And we have another not yet funding over here, and this is going to be Feud, the Seer's Prophecy. Again, this just launched, and it does look like it's already trending towards $10,000 out of a $17,000 goal, which does mean that I think this probably will fund, but we are looking at a case where it's likely going to scrape over the finish line. I actually will have coverage of the game as well. This is one that I have played and have enjoyed, but obviously wait for my review for the full nuance of thoughts and all that. But past that, Feud is a game for 2 players. in which you're dueling against each other in almost a deck building kind of approach, where you're building out your hand from a common pool of cards, trying to take a look at the various cards that are in play. So think Dominion, where you have a specific pool of cards, and that pool ranges game to game, and how you build out your deck, how you build out your cards, is going to affect your strategy in the game. You have two different camps, and you're using those cards to put into various camps, to move them around, to gather the resources you need, to ultimately attack each other as you move towards the front lines. You're trying to balance keeping your characters alive, attacking your opponent, and gathering your resources and staying in control in the game. It's a very clever game. It's well done over here. That's going to be, well, starting to dive into review. We'll save review for later. That's going to be what Feud is over here. And there's hundreds of cards, a common pool. They got an insert already baked in. Actually, they have one thing over here. If I can scroll down over here, this is the insert for the game, and they have a little box shaking situation over here, where he's literally shaking the box as much as possible, as you can visually see, and then showing you the cards don't move at all. And it's got playmats rolled into the box. So you have playmats incorporated into the box, which is my favorite way to deal with playmats. You have an insert that holds all the cards that theoretically can deal with any form of shaking, all that. And you're going to go ahead and have the pledge levels over here. I believe there's only one pledge level. There's going to be a 45 euro pledge level over here. Sorry, there's a local support. The 49 euro pledge level here, which basically has for every 5 backers at this tier, they'll donate a game to a youth center. So basically they're kind of matching you and saying, hey, you know, if you have enough backers at this tier, we already have 50 backers, so they're going to be donating 10 copies of Feud to various youth centers, library, game cafes, all of that, by donating to the local support pledge. Otherwise, you have the 45 euro there, and then you have the 449 euro super backer pledge instead. But basically, you're looking at one primary core pledge concept over here. That's going to be Feud. Again, I think this one likely will be funded by the time all is said and done, but not yet funded now. From there, we go into today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is WSBG. The Real Series of Board Gaming is today's sponsor of the video, and the Real Series of Board Gaming is going to be taking place September 24th to September 28th. The tickets over here are going to be, well, Ring Tournament ticket sales end in 8 days, 10 hours, 15 minutes, or reality, like, subtract a day and a half because you're watching this video on Monday. So the Ring Tournament ticket sales are ending soon. That's the thing. They're ending soon. You do not have a lot of time left to be able to get a Ring Tournament. You could still go to WSBG, which is an important factor, but if you're looking to get in on the Ring Tournaments, they are finalizing those. And this, the WSBG, you've heard me talk about it before, but this is an opportunity to both, you know, go ahead and have a chance to win $25,000. There's going to be more than $25,000 given out, but the first place gets $25,000. It's an opportunity to have fun. It's a regular, fun, playing games convention. It has a Dice Tower West library is there. Lots of events, both the inner rings, the outer rings, and just playing games for fun. This was a convention I went to that I had an absolute blast at the convention, and I competed for one single game of 7 Wonders before I was promptly eliminated, and that's basically WSBG. If you do want to go ahead WSBG, if you're getting one of the 4-ring pass over here, or possibly, I have to check which ones, but the 4-ring pass, I believe, over here, you'll get a $40 off if you use the coupon code BoardGameCo, which is in the description down below. Make sure to use that if you are trying to jump in on this one. I do recommend it's a convention worth going to. The competing part, more whether that's worth it to you or not, is a kind of a different genre of what you might be used to for conventions, but I do think if you go to WSBG, you will have a lot of fun. And with that, moving on to the campaign, starting off with Dungeon Cart. Dungeon Cart from Brotherwise Games over here. Is table carts racing from the world of Boss Monster. This one is going to be taking place in the world of Boss Monster, which is from Brotherwise Games, obviously, and it's going to have you going with a Mario Kart style of gameplay, where you're basically going to have your bosses, you're going to have various weapons, you're going to be racing around the tracks with your acrylic standees, and there's going to be a bunch of pledge levels giving you, you know, different options for this degree of frenetic racing mayhem. In the game, you're going to have, you know, the bronze tier over here, which is the retail pledge, which I do recommend avoiding if you plan on getting the game, meaning if you plan on getting the game, you can get the bronze tier stuff at retail later for cheaper, because they say the MSRP on this, we're kind of diving straight into the should you back or should you not, but the MSRP on this game is listed as $55, and by the time you pay shipping, you're going to be paying above MSRP to get this game, and if you wait till retail, you can pay below MSRP while getting it in a free shipping order from your local friendly online retailer, whatever it is. So you can get this game cheaper if you wait till retail. This is one of those things where it's like, again, they put in the campaign that, you know, hey, get it for cheaper because it's $50 instead of $55, but it's actually more expensive than MSRP, and it's not a fair comparison. I recently did a video of 10 marketing tricks to be aware of when you're backing crowdfunding campaigns, and one of those is that false presentation of savings, which does not actually reflect real savings. And in the case of the bronze tier, it does not reflect real savings. You can get this game for cheaper if you wait till retail. Now, I'm not saying don't get the game. I'm saying that the bronze tier, the only reason to get the bronze tier would be to support the Brotherwise, which is a good reason, but not because you're saving money, rather if you just want more of the funds to go towards Brotherwise, as opposed to through the distributor and the online retailer and all of those things as you go. Past that, you're going to also have the silver tier over here. Now the silver tier, let's try to scroll down and start showing you some things. The bronze tier is going to be giving you 10 track tiles, 6 Boss Monster Race Standees, 6 unique speed control dashboards, 2 double-sided boards to track race position, 40 punchboard coin tokens, and 40 hazard tokens, as well as, at this point I'm just reading, and the whole time I'm just reading over here. But at the silver tier over here, you're going to get an additional 7 void track tiles, as well as an extra racer, as well as an extra dashboard. The way it works is you're going to be combining a unique racer with a unique dashboard to give you a full degree of customization towards your characters as you race your way towards frenetic, mayhem, victory, all of that stuff. And then the gold tier for $20 more, and the silver tier, by the way, is $10 more than the bronze tier, I believe, if I recall correctly. It's 60, no, the bronze tier is 50, the silver tier is 60, and the gold tier is 80, $20 more. And for those $20 more, you are getting everything in the silver tier, plus another 8 map tiles from the Icy Peak track tiles, another bonus racer, and 40 metal coin tokens. So you'll notice that the $10 bump is both getting you more map tiles and a racer, same as the silver bump, but that an extra $10 is getting you 40 metal coin tokens and a dry erase leaderboard. That's what you're getting over here. But otherwise, as said, nothing here is completely exclusive, but the bronze tier is going to be available in retail, and the silver and gold are things that might be available at, you know, future crowdfunding campaigns or from the website or conventions. So it will be harder to get your hands on, but not purely exclusive. So if you're worried about never being able to get your hands on this stuff in the future, that is not the case. Get what you need at retail down the road, see if you like the game, and then go to the website and buy whatever you want. They are not leaning too hard into the FOMO in that sense, so kudos to them for that. And then over here we have the how to play, going through all of that, and then there was another thing I want to cover, which I'm trying to remember what it was now, which is stretch goals. So yeah, stretch goals. There are going to be a bunch of stretch goals as well, adding to those numbers of dashboards, of more racers, more cards, although pay attention to what tiers they're at. I believe there was one silver tier. Most of them are bronze, which means all pledge levels, and then there was one gold so far. So we have a new racer for the silver tier, and silver and gold, and then we also have another gold option over here. If you scroll down, where's the gold? Another new racer at the gold pledges. So again, they give you reasons to get those extra pledges, to get those extra levels. Obviously, if you get bronze tiers, bronze rewards are available in all 3 tiers, not just bronze, it's bronze and up. And that's basically what you have over here. And then, of course, the shipping over here, which I mentioned already, you know, that $50 tier goes to $60 tier as soon as you're getting that extra $10 shipping, obviously adjusted for the various tier you're at, all of that stuff. But then past that, should you back or should you not? Like I mentioned already, the bronze tier, I'd probably hard pass on. Just get that one at retail if you're interested in that. And then down the road at a convention or the website, you can get those extras if it's a game you love. As far as the silver or gold tier, holding their value or not, I think you are getting a decent amount of game from this. It's hard to say for sure whether they will or won't hold their value. At a gold tier, you're looking at $80 plus, of course, the $14 shipping. That's $94 for a racing game with, granted, you know, nearly 20 map tiles, more than 20 map tiles, with 10 plus 7 plus 8, so that's not even counting the stretch goals, 25 map tiles, plus, you know, 10 or so racers, 6 plus 1, 1, 1, 1, I think 10 racers already, and that's before we get into the more stretch goals that get unlocked. So I think that the should you back or should you not for this at those levels, at the silver and gold, do heavily depend on how well the game is received. If this game does land and is loved, it's not an unreasonable price point for the amount of content you're getting out of the game. But it's also a high enough price point that if the game is not, you know, one of those games that everyone's trying to track down, then ultimately, you know, you won't necessarily get your money back on that one. And especially because of the fact that there is going to be retail availability, plus the options of getting the extra stuff on the website, I would say that it might hold its value. But if you're on the fence about that, if you're on the fence as to whether it's worth it, if it's a game that's not going to be for you, just get the retail down the road and upgrade to deluxeifications from them directly down the road once you know you like it. From there, we're going to go ahead and move on to Joyride, another racing game. We're already up to the next racing game. We have Joyride Survival of the Fastest. 1,069 backers, 5 days to go, $88,000 raised. Joyride is coming to you from Rebellion Unplugged, who previously did Sniper Elite. And Joyride is giving you more frenetic racing mayhem, with more frenetic rockets and weapons and oil slicks and all those fun things being dropped on the map. I have a review of this. You can check that out. Check out my channel, or, you know, check out the review on the channel. And then past that, there's also gameplays out there on this game as well. I did not do a gameplay. But over here, Joyride is going to be another racing game. They have a few things going on here. They have Joyride Duel, which is going to be your $50 pledge over here, or I should say €50. 30. I don't know if I said 50, I apologize. £30 pledge for Joyride Duel Next Gen. That's going to be a 2-player version of this game. I have not played Joyride Duel. I don't know how well it translates. A big thing with these racing games is they do work well with more players, because more players means more rockets, more weapons, more bombs, more everything in the frenetic category. At 2 players, you don't have as much of that. Now, I don't know the rules or adjustments or anything different on Joyride Duel past the fact that it's custom maps, so I cannot comment on it. I can only say, I can't comment on an experience. I can just say, as someone who played Joyride, I am both very intrigued by Joyride Duel, but also wary whether it captures that same degree of chaos in the game. So, intrigued, interested, not confident. Past that, we have Joyride itself, which is going to be £50 for that. That's going to give you the Joyride game, all the stretch goals, all of that stuff. And again, like I said, this is a dice well, I didn't say it here, but this is a dice rolling game where you're going to be rolling dice assign them for both your pre and post phases of your turn. You have different phases of your turn, the way you lock dice, then you roll dice, and you get to turn a pivot once per turn, unless you're in lower gears, which means you're rolling fewer dice and doing less stuff, but you do have more control over your vehicle. In general, these games is often a degree of accelerating up or down, giving you either speed or control. The same thing is present in Dungeon Cart as well, and the way games implement it is different. Joyride's system of locking dice into your, lock dice slots, then having your rearview mirror, very interesting system, but ultimately gives you enough control to feel like you have some degree of control, with also enough chaos and luck that you're never perfectly sure of exactly how things will play out, especially once you account for the other players and what they do to your vehicle along the way. Past that, we have £50 for that, and then we also have Joyride the Turbo Boosted, which gives you all of that, and for effectively for an extra $20, because you're getting Joyride, you're getting Joyride Dual, that's already an £80, I keep saying dollars and euros, it's an £80 cost. For an additional £20, you're also getting Joyride Big Day Out, which is going to be a collection of a few things. Let's go ahead and scroll down to it, and you're going to be getting various maps along the way, various drivers. There's already a stretch goal for an extra driver unlock, so all that's going to be there. But over here we have Joyride, where are we? Joyride Next Gen, that's not the one I'm looking for. I'm looking for, nope, where is it? Includes Joyride Downtown. Why do I feel like I'm missing something? I feel like I'm missing something. Joyride Turbo Boosted Pledge. There we go. So we're going to have expansion, the exclusive expansion, Big Day Out. Now this is exclusive. You can only get it as part of this pledge from what I can see, and it will not be available in retail. While Joyride and Joyride Dual will be, the extras in the exclusive expansion Big Day Out pledge over here, that's going to be stuff that is not otherwise available in retail. It's Kickstarter exclusive, so get it now or on the secondhand market, because those are your only real options. Obviously a future crowdfunding campaign as well. Speaking of which, there is an FAQ that, can you get Sniper Elite from this and part of the add-ons? And they're like, no. But stay tuned, because, who knows what kind of Sniper Elite news may be coming your way in the future. So we'll see what happens with Sniper Elite. I'm curious if they're going to be launching that down the road, relaunching that with expansions or upgrades or all of that, but that's a different conversation. For Joyride Dual, if you want the exclusive content, then you want to go ahead and get that £100 pledge level, and that will give you the stuff that you can't otherwise get at retail. Speaking of which, as far as should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? It kind of comes down to the exclusive content. The regular pledge levels, I think, will be available at retail, and you'll be able to get your hands on them for cheaper, not a problem. But if you go ahead and wait for, if you want the exclusive content, that is a different conversation. Once you factor in the £100, plus of course the shipping as well, so you're looking at, for £125 for all of that, for a little bit of exclusive content, it's hard to say for sure. My gut says that, not my gut, but I guess my gut and research combined, I think this is less likely to hold its value overall. There's not a ton of exclusive content, and it's locked behind a high enough price point that getting £125 back for that's a decent amount of money. I think I'm reluctant to think that you'll get all that when you could get a decent amount of the game just by paying the retail values for it. So definitely a game that I enjoy, one that I recommend, but I'm a little less confident it'll hold its value, and retail might be your best option for getting this one. You will be losing on exclusive content though, so take that into account. And of course, you try to hunt down a used copy on the secondhand market if you want to get your hands on that exclusive content. From there we have Galaxy Postman over here. Galaxy Postman, $21,000 raised, 278 backers. Disclaimer that we did do paid content on this game. There's a paid preview and a paid gameplay, so take that into account as I go through this page and all that. But Galaxy Postman, coming to you from Hodari Spiel, this is going to be a, I don't even know, it's not really pick up and deliver. It's exploring space and then, interacting with various things along the way until across either 5 or 7 rounds you trigger endgame. Well, you trigger endgame by finishing 5 or 7 rounds, depending on the length of the game. And you're just interacting with space along the way, trying to get as many points as possible. I know it's a Galaxy Postman, which means you are delivering things thematically, but there's not pick up and deliver in the typical sense. You're just going to various interaction points and interacting with those interaction points. You're not really like grabbing something and then going back home. You're managing your energy, you're allocating dice. You have a ship where you're going to have different actions you can take, but you're trying to upgrade those actions as you go. Let's see if we can scroll down to show you the various areas of the ship over here. Over here, I'm trying to show you parts. Over here, you have your player dashboard. You're going to be allocating things to this player dashboard. You're going to be trying to unlock more dice. You're going to be trying to upgrade those spots, and along the way, you're helping aliens return home. You're making deliveries. You're moving around the map. You're interacting with various checkpoints and all these different things. And there are a few pledge levels over here as far as things you can get, which is where I have to scroll back up, because you have, for €50, you have the core pledge over here. For €50, around $55 or so. For €65, you get the Galaxy gameplay. That's going to give you the core pledge, plus the Interstellar modules, which is a collection of 6 or so modules that will give you different small adjustments to the gameplay. Those are things that I did not have a chance to play with, so I can't heavily comment on those, but extra small little modules to mix into a gameplay. Then we have €83 over here is going to give you the Galaxy Postman along with the deluxe parts. Those are going to be some miniatures, some upgraded ship pieces, all of those kinds of things, just some nice upgraded parts. That's going to be €83 for that. And then for the Galaxy Wormhole at €99, you're also getting a playmat on top of everything else we said. Those are going to be the various pledge levels for the game. So basically starting at 55 and going all the way up to 108 before shipping for, and that's US dollars, for all those things. You can also get the various add-ons if you want to get any of those individually. If you want to create your own package, they give you the add-ons, and that's basically Galaxy Postman. As far as the usual, should you back it, should you not, will it hold its value? I'm skeptical, again, and this is something you're going to hear across most of this video today. In fact, in general on crowdfunding, you've heard me be more and more skeptical as far as what will and won't hold its value. I think in general, creators have had to price their games more conservatively to account for the unknown. They've had to be a little bit more expensive, and so games in general, the price points and the shipping and all that's adding up to things that you're just paying a bit more to get your things. When you compare things to, like, you know, the Perfect Wave at the beginning was a $35 game, and then you're comparing that across the board to games that are, you know, hey, if you want this game, it's going to cost you $120 for like a standard Euro game with some degree of deluxification, it just makes it harder to really justify. You'll still have people on these crowdfunding campaigns backing these things, and I understand why. They want that thing. I've wanted that thing. I will sometimes find myself victim to paying for these things, but more often than not, you are often paying a lot more money for an experience that may or may not work for you as long anyway. The price point is making it harder and harder for me to get confident, and for whatever reason, people tend to be most willing to do that doing crowdfunding itself and not on the secondhand market. Meaning that same willingness to pay $120 for Galaxy Postman over here, that willingness is there right now. It is less there when someone's trying to turn around and sell their copy a year and a half from now, and people are currently excited about whatever the next thing is on crowdfunding at the time. This is not an attack on Galaxy Postman. This is true for Dungeon Crawl, it's true for Joyride, it's true for Galaxy Postman, it's true for half the things we're going to talk about in this video. In general, as much as I am a huge fan of crowdfunding, crowdfunding is getting more expensive. If you are someone who goes through games, you have to be more and more conservative about how you do it, because the secondhand market's not supporting that, and your own willingness to just spend tons of money on games you play twice, that's just a harder sell every single time. I should do an entirely new video on this. Once upon a time, it's going to go on a tangent now. Once upon a time, I did a video called Why is Kickstarter Not a Good Deal Anymore? Or Why Isn't Kickstarter a Good Deal Anymore? It was one of my first videos that really blew up, and things have only gotten less ideal since then. I love crowdfunding. I think crowdfunding is fantastic. I think crowdfunding allows games to exist that wouldn't otherwise exist. Some of my favorite games that I have played are crowdfunding games. A good portion of my top 10 are games that were crowdfunded. Every single year, I find new experiences that were crowdfunded. My two favorite games from this year, currently my 2023, my two Game of the Year contenders as of right now are DEI and Expeditions, and one of those is a crowdfunded game. If I think through the games I've played this past month that have really hit me, I mean, offhand, Mythic Mischief is a crowdfunded game. That's going to be just one offhand. I'd have to like go through my full list to find them, but there are a lot of amazing, incredible experiences that exist because of crowdfunding, due to crowdfunding, and I am a huge fan of the platforms and the presentation, the space it has in our industry. I also think more and more backers have to consider what they are actually getting their hands on and when is it worth it and when is it not. And I think more and more, unfortunately, it's not always worth it. I've gone from backing, 10 campaigns a month on a regular basis to backing maybe one a month, if that, just because the secondhand market is not bringing in what it used to on those games. The prices are going up and people are not as excited to buy it later. And that means I have to judge, am I likely to play this game 5, 10, 15 times, or am I just getting it so I can play it once, move on, and take a $40 hit on that game? And more, I've drifted towards not. So it's just the space is changing. It doesn't mean you shouldn't back, it just means you should be more thoughtful about what you back. And with that, let's go ahead and continue with Guilty Gear, Strive the board game. $266,000, $1,400 raised, 1,400 backers so far, 10 days to go. This is coming to you from level 99, and it's another game in the Exceed fighting system. And it's another game that I was very tempted to back this one as I saw it. Fortunately, because it's based on the Exceed system, I know that I both like the system, and it's not a system for me. That's not negative on the system, we'll talk about that more soon. But also the video is fantastic, that's another thing worth mentioning. The video is absolutely fantastic video done by, oh my gosh, Kagan Productions, done by Kagan Productions, Ori Kagan. The video, I believe it was at least, but this video over here, very compelling video as far as the game goes, and it's really gonna, just make you want to play the game. Well, at least it did for me. But over here, we're gonna have a $99 pledge for the core box, and we have a $179 pledge for the collector's edition, which supposedly will not be reprinted. I believe they said. Let me just double check that FAQ, make sure I'm right up with this. Will there be a pledge manager? Nope. Can I pledge for multiple copies? Will the collector's edition be available? While supplies last, it will be printed in limited quantities, will not be going to retail, and will be $225 if you don't don't get it now, where it's $179. So currently it's cheaper than it will be in the future, and even in the future it will be based on limited supplies and limited availability. And then of course there's also the $499 pledge, which you can get this game as well as other game systems that were based on the Exceed system. So I'm not going to heavily go into the $499 pledge. Just know that it's more stuff that's based on the Exceed universe, but without the the Strive universe. So mixing and matching universe, but the same gameplay system. But past that, the game is going to be giving you a ton of characters and a ton of tactical fighting against each other. That's basically what the Exceed system is. The original system was BattleCon, and then I think they have the Exceed system. They have similarities but differences to those systems, and they are incredibly well rated and well received battling systems for 2 players. This is a 2-player game. I do not believe there's a solo mode. Again, I think that FAQ will have you covered over there. Is there a solo mode? Where's the solo mode? I feel like look past my camera over here. I don't see it. I'm pretty sure they said there's no solo mode over here, but I'd have to double check on that one. And the boxes do fit sleeved cards. They do have a yes on that one. But either way, the game itself is a 2-player head-to-head tactical battling system, which you're trying to outplay your opponent by using your cards, using the various attributes, and they have different decks, and they all have different specialties and ways that they play. The system is incredibly well done. BattleCon is a well-loved, well-rated game. Exceed is a well-loved, well-rated game. But at the same time, for me, they don't work because I find that these games work best when you are playing head-to-head with the same people who know the system again and again and again. I find these games do not reward singular play as much. They don't reward your friend coming over and you being like, hey, let's play this cool game system, and then maybe you play it again 2 months later. They reward tactical, could repeat, considered play from the same players. Otherwise, you're just spending way too much money on a system that you don't need to. Like, if you're someone who falls into the camp of playing these kinds of games here and there on an exceptional basis, get something like Radlands. That's fantastic for that and much, much cheaper. On the other hand, if you have game buddies or partners or whoever that are going to play these games with you again and again and learn to fall in love, then these games very much do have a place for you. So I think they're great for me and my playstyle. They just don't currently suit me, but I was very tempted by getting that collector's case over there. Again, the video made me want it. The gameplay I know is good. I just have to remind myself that this is something that will see the table infrequently on my end. Past that, the game's going to be combining the IP over here, as well as the Exceed system, giving you, tactical combat against each other. And then, of course, there's the 2 pledge levels, the $99 pledge level, and then the $179, which is going to be giving you a few extras, including the acrylic standees, an extra playmat, coins, a whole bunch of extra things, all in one deluxe-fied box. There's not going to be an upgrade pack to make your regular version into the collector's edition, so it's kind of pick or choose a lane as you go through it. Speaking of which, now's a good time to move into the should you back it, should you not? And this one's a question mark to me. The fact that it's based on an IP to a degree, the Guilty Gear or Strive, whatever it is, the fact that it has an IP behind it means I'm a little less certain where this one will go. In general, the Exceed line of games and the BattleCon line of games are great games that have historically not held their value as much. There's so much content out there for these games that it's kind of hard to really pinpoint what you're getting your hands on, and getting them on the second-hand market has often been, first of all, hard to begin with. Very often sales are infrequent on many of the variations of these systems, but even when you find them, there's just so much and it's so hard to really track down. It's not like you're buying, it's kind of like Alhambra from Queen Games. There's like 7,000 versions and variations and expansions of it that it starts making the process of tracking down and getting something just convoluted to the point that very often people just resort to getting those things brand new as opposed to dealing with the second-hand market. That, to a certain extent, is true with the BattleCon and Exceed systems here. The difference is that as soon as you attach an IP to it, now this is kind of almost its own entity, so it could do better than other Exceed or BattleCon products have done in the past. I would say it absolutely falls into the category of being a risk, though. Not that it won't hold its value, but it certainly is a risk that it will, because you're kind of hoping that the IP exceeds the original BattleCon and Exceed systems and takes it to a different level, which it might, but I'm still skeptical of. Again, $179 is a good price point compared to $225, but it's still a lot of money for a 2-player head-to-head game with just a whole bunch of cards and a whole bunch of fighting back and forth, and that's true even for the $99 pledge as well. So skeptical on this one, with the caveat that the IP on top of it does make it more of a question mark. Moving on to Hybris Disorder Cosmos Rivalry, 600 backers, 64,000 euro raise over here, 12 days left to go, and this is one where I will not be going into what the game plays like at all, because unfortunately I don't know. It's a worker placement game, but it's a whole lot of stuff going on. It is well rated, an 8.8 on Board Game Geek, but I don't know enough about the game to talk about it coherently or confidently, and so I'm just going to tell you that I don't know enough about it to talk about it coherently or confidently. Past that over here, Hybris Disorder Cosmos was previously a Kickstarter game. The pledge level, one thing I did find interesting, and I don't necessarily have a problem with it, it's always interesting, is the original Hybris Disorder Cosmos had a 79 euro price point, and the new one has a 75 euro price point. I mean, the price has gone down in it, which is intriguing to me. I didn't look into it necessarily enough to know if there's a particular reason for that or not, but I just find in general pricing your things lower the second time around is always a bit tricky, because on the one hand I respect pricing a game the way it's meant to be priced. On the other hand, you're always giving a bit of a, like, hey, original backers, we're making the new backers pay less. Now it's a small difference, and original backers have had their game for a while now, or not for a while, but will have the game for a while before new backers, so there obviously is not a problem per se. I just find, like, for those €4, I probably just would have priced it the same at that point. Not really entirely sure. Past that, we have the Rivalry expansion over here, giving you some new content, and we have the All-In, giving you a ton of content, including solo and cooperative versions to the gameplay as well. And they also have some fun things like an acrylic standee pack, which is going to give you 81 acrylic standees for €50, which frankly is not a bad price. Acrylic standees are more expensive than you might think. They're not the price point of regular cardboard standees. They're not the price point of miniatures. They're comparable to miniatures. It depends on how you're producing them, where you're producing them, all of that. We have acrylic tokens, we have playmats, we have all these various things over here. That's what you have for Hybris Disordered Cosmos. I feel like there's something else I was going to say about this game, but I don't remember what it was. What was it? Was there a Y back over here, exclusive over here. Some of the content is going to be exclusive over here. They cover that. The deluxe components in the update pack are Gamefound exclusive, will not be distributed in retail. So there is that aspect there. There's stretch pay as well, which is obviously a Gamefound feature. And that's what we have for Hybris Disordered Cosmos, which means it's time to move on to Harvest. Harvest from Keymaster Games. $2,600 backers, $272,000 raised so far, 13 days to go. And before we get into the game, just a brief public service announcement, so to speak, that there is ongoing litigation going on at Keymaster with the various founders of the game. I don't know how it's going to play out. I've read through the whole thing. Well, it's not true. I've skimmed through parts of it. I've updated myself on the litigation process of what's going on there. And just so that I guess you know what's going on, I am not personally worried about any issues based on what I understand. I think everything's totally fine, everything's safe. At the end of the day, just as a public service aspect, I can't just, it is something that should affect your decision of whether or not to back it, just because any form of litigation can always be a bit of a road bump in the background. So back responsibly, do your due diligence. If it is something that perturbs you at all, if you're in any way unconfident, just back responsibly. I think you're fine, but a quote I said once is, my lack of concern does not translate into a guarantee on your end. And that's where we are with this one. So ongoing litigation at Keymaster, take that into account as you back. Past that over here, we have 13 days to go on this one, and this is Harvest, which is a re-implementation of, well, Harvest from TMG. Now, Harvest on TMG was a 7.1 on Board Game Geek, which is not a bad rating, but it's a 7.1, which takes that into account. I believe it did get the Dice Tower Seal of Excellence, but the aggregate rating, to me, matters more than the Dice Tower Seal of Excellence, which I do like, but nonetheless, aggregate rating matters the most to me, and a 7.1 is a 7.1. That said, this is also Keymaster. Keymaster took Caper, which is a 7.1 as well, and they made Caper Europe with some small tweaks, adjustments, and they made it into a 7.8. So basically, when you take a good company who has a good history of making good games out of things, also adding a solo mode as well to it, so Harvest is going to have a solo mode, deluxified components, gameplay tweaks and adjustments. So the idea that the original Harvest was a 7.1 and this may well be a 7.8 does not, faze me at all. Just obviously understand, take that gamble as well, as far as whether you think this will be an improvement on it, because frankly, at least on my end, the price points on this start at like $50 and go all the way up to $150, and for me at least, I have the light not on. Alexa, turn on side door. My son thinks he can come downstairs if the light's not on. For me, at least, a $50 to $150 price point isn't worth it for a game that's rated at 7.1, but could be worth it for a game that's rated at 7.8. That's why the kind of a weird background around Parks, around Cape, well, I didn't talk about Parks, around Caper Europe, Harvest, and then this Harvest over here. And then, of course, as well, they did Parks, which is an amazing game. I love Parks and cannot get enough of that one. Well, I could get enough of it, I guess, in theory, if I played it enough, but I don't play it enough, so I don't get enough of it yet. But either way, that's going to be Harvest over here. So Harvest is a game where you're going to be drafting various tiles to determine your turn order and the various bonuses you're getting every single round. Past that, you're going to be taking your wheelbarrows, going around in a bit of a worker placement game as you try to build up your farms in this, trying to be as efficient as possible against the other players, utilizing your various player powers, who I have a problem with their names, by the way, because we'll get down to the names shortly. Let's see if we can scroll down to what do we want to go scroll to. Let's get to pledge levels first. We'll talk about their names level later. So we have the retail tier over here for $59, so not $50 to $150, rather $60 to $150. $59 for the retail edition of the game, and even the retail edition is, pretty quality. You can see over here lots of wood bits over here, the button score trackers, all of that. We have our premium game components, premium chipboard player boards, all of those fun things, wood and fertilizer tokens. So even the retail version version is a premium game with wooden components. This is not a game that's just being plastered with cardboard components and then the wooden stuff only in the deluxe. Although in the deluxe at $89 for $20 more, you get an upgrade edition of the game where the coins are updated to premium metal coins, and many of the tokens are upgraded even further to more wood tokens in your box, as well as having a custom box insert from Game Trays in your box for $20 more. And if you're willing to go to $149, which is an impressive $60 more on top of the $89 over there, so $60 more, you're going to get all the stuff that's already in the deluxe tier, but you're also going to get stitched furrowed town board playmats for all the players, and then these deluxe-fied animal meeples for every single character, including some of the stretch goals give you the solo character or the mayor or whatnot, and those will also be an upgrade to the deluxe version. So some of these stretch goals will fracture different types depending on what pledge level you're at. And I will say those little animal meeple heads are adorable. Now, as far as the my beef with the player names, because I did have a beef with the player names, let me see if I can find this over here. Where are they? Over here. Also, by the way, highly recommend watching the video. The overall video on the page. This done by Tim Chun. Fantastic video. In general, incredible high quality. Great voiceover by Paula Deming. All of that stuff. But over here, we have Poop Princess, we have Ace Architect, we have Gregarious Gatherer, we have Mischievous Merchant, we have Water Wrangler, and then we have Hurried Courier. Why are the rest of them, you know, what's the word? There's a terminology. I'm blanking the terminology when you have alliteration. The rest of them have alliteration, and the Hurried Courier does not. And I will note that, yes, it's true that the Handy Bird and the Supervisor do not have alliteration, but they also have single word names. The Hurried Courier does not work when you have the Poop Princess, the Ace Architect, the Gregarious Gatherer, the Mischievous Merchant, and the Water Wrangler. We could do better, Keymaster. Honestly, if I was really going to commit to this bit, I should have come up with a suggestion, which I did not do so. So the Hurried Handyman? I mean, you can't do a Hurried Courier. You can do something for Courier. The Courteous Courier? That seems too specific. I like the Hurried Handyman, honestly. The Hurried Handyman could have been fine. There's things you could have done, Keymaster. Do better. Anyways, that's going to be what we have over here. And then, of course, you also have the game is available on TTS. And then you have Whyback Kickstarter, Early Access, Deluxe upgrades, all of that stuff. Keymaster generally has done tremendously well on crowdfunding. They've delivered games that people are very happy with. They have a high degree of satisfaction. They also don't forget the extra shipping on top of your various pledge levels. But that's basically what we have over here. As far as should you back it, should you not, will it hold its value? The short version is, it's hard. I don't think so on this. The price points are so high for what you're getting here. And it's not, again, it's very possible I'll be wrong here. It's very possible. Keymaster has a great reputation, and their games overall do very well. And so it is hard to say exactly where this will end up, but the price point starting at $60 for this game, I mean, you can buy a copy of the original Harvest for $15 on the Board Game Geek Marketplace right now. Granted, it's the original Harvest, but you're basically saying, hey, I believe in this game enough that I'm going to start off by paying $60 plus shipping instead of $15 just so I can try this game. It does look better, and it probably will be better, but it's a big gap in funds. And that goes all the way up to $89 for the Deluxe Edition, and then all the way up to $150 plus shipping for this game, which is just, it feels like games are getting very expensive. And sometimes, I don't know, I have a hard time seeing people getting back $150, $165 if this is a game that does not work for you. If you back the $150 pledge level, if you pay that shipping over there on top of that, and you get the game and you play it and you're like, that was good, but not necessarily for me. Now you have to go through the work of selling it, which is already work to begin with, but I just don't think you'll get back $150 value on this game, $165 value on this game. So similar to the rest over here, I think it's likely a very good game. I think it's a very charming game. I want to try the game. I want to play the game, but that $160 price point is just $165 once you factor in shipping, all that stuff. It's just a lot to ask for a game of this weight class, of what it's trying to do, and so I'm skeptical on the should you hold its value, all that. From there we go to Worms. Things don't get better this video. Everything's expensive. Worms from the Fomanta Games. Again, disclaimer that we did paid content. There was a paid playthrough on the channel for Worms. And we have $327,000 raised, 2,688 backers, 13 days to go. And also, for those of you who noticed that the Worms playthrough was gone, basically the Worms playthrough went up last week when the Kickstarter campaign was supposed to go up. Then they changed their plans, and we delisted or unlisted the Worms campaign, the Worms video, until the campaign went back up. So, in case you're wondering what happened to that playthrough, it disappeared for a week into the magic time hole of time. Worms is the board game over here. We're going to start off with a pledge level of £79 for this game. There's going to be an additional pledge level of £119 for this game, which is sort of worth it, depending on what you're doing. Not the game, but the difference in price. But £79 for the game, and that's what we have over here on crowdfunding. That's important to note because the retail edition of this game is going to be coming in late 2024 is the current plan, and the retail edition is going to be cheaper. They didn't say how cheap it would be, but it's going to be very, very different. They actually have a great chart that I'll show you the differences of the various pledge levels, which I think is great to kind of give you an idea of what you might want to do. This is obviously based on the Worms video game. Having played and loved the Worms video game growing up, I can say confidently that this game delivers on that mayhem. It delivers on the sense of mayhem and craziness and grenades falling back in your face and things going boom all over the place and stuff just blowing up left, right, and center. It does not deliver on the sense of control over that craziness. And in Worms, you have a sense of dexterity over what you do, and in Worms the board game, the dexterity that translates into things going wrong is a little bit more random. So it delivers on the feeling of mayhem and less so on the feeling of control, if that makes sense. But past that, over here, as far as the game itself, we have what's in the box. We have 45 Worms over here. The retail edition will have far less Worms. So you have all these unique sculpts over here. You're going to have, oh, another thing, if you watched any of the playthrough videos, understand that they are very much improving and upgrading all the various components. The things you've seen in playthrough videos or preview videos or any of that stuff are not what you're going to be getting in the final game. Although the pre-painted Worms that they had in the campaign video, those looked very charming, and I don't think you get those either, so just going to have to paint those things yourself. But past that, also, they would be great if they could release an app or a soundtrack where every like minute and a half you have someone going boom or whatever. If you've watched Worms, you know I can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing. Over here, you're going to have a 5 to 6 player expansion. That's including the Kickstarter version. That's not including the retail edition. So if you're looking to play this game with more players, you will want the Kickstarter version of the game, or alternatively pick it up in the secondhand market. You're going to have upgraded oil drums, mines, and supply crates. So that's going to be another thing that's going to be upgraded. You'll get cardboard tokens for those otherwise in the retail edition. And there's going to be a whole bunch of tokens and all the daily reveals for the game. So the Kickstarter version is giving you a variety of extras that will not be present in the retail edition of the game. Then over here, we're going to keep scrolling down to see the various daily reels. We have more characters that are unlocked. We have more landscape, generating a landscape. We have assigned teams and starting weapons. We have all these various things. Shuffle it. That's now just telling you how to play the game as you go through it. And that's basically, the game basically is all about putting out various terrain tiles based on the player count, and then basically trying to draft your having your starter weapons, trying to acquire more weapons through the various crates that go on the board, and trying to use those weapons to basically blow up your opponents, being mindful that slowly but surely the island is going to be sinking all around you. As you put crater tokens onto the island, it's going to sink down, and Worms are going to slowly die by, being just blown or blasted off the island, or just having the island disappear underneath them is going to be how you die. Although you can drop a nice little girder over here to avoid that happening, so you have something to stand and support yourself on throughout the course of the game. Lots of fun things going on, a bunch of game modes, a bunch of ways to adjust the map size, the length, all these various things, a bunch of stuff going on. This is a fun game that I had fun with the caveat that leaning into the chaos and less so into the control. Past that over here, a bunch of various, pre-built preview of the game, all of that stuff. And then we have over here, what else do we have? We have £79 for the main pledge. That's going to be, this box and all the stuff we just talked about. And then we have over here for the additional pledge for the £119, you're also getting more landscapes, as well as collector's art prints, as well as a neoprene dice tray, as well as a neoprene playmat, as well as an extra dice set. Now, I will say that if you are interested in the neoprene playmat, the difference in price alone from the two pledges is basically compensated for that. I think it's like €35. I think the pledge difference is €40 and the £40, and the neoprene playmat is £35. So if you just wanted the playmat alone, it's almost already worth it. But if you didn't want that, then you have to kind of make a judgment call as to what you did or didn't care about by upgrading to the Armageddon pledge instead. So you can break that down. The things are available individually. And here we have the pledge comparison chart, which I think is excellent and well done, showing you the retail edition, showing you when it gets. Although also keep in mind that late 2024 versus today sounds like such a far time, but the real question is late 2024 compares to when you're getting your game by how much. That's an interesting question, because I don't actually know that answer. But when are you getting the Mayhem pledge? When are you getting the Armageddon pledge? Are you getting those early 2024? Late 2023? I don't think so. It's gotta be late 2024 too, right? Probably, maybe early 2024. So the time frame there might be similar and not that different. But as far as what you get, you're looking at 16 worms, 4 sculpts, or 45 worms, all sculpts, 45 worms, all sculpts. And then you can see over here, showing you a breakdown of what's being given in every single tier, so you can see which one is right for you. As far as should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? It's expensive. £119, plus of course shipping on the game as well. That's a lot of money for a light little frenetic. I mean, over here you're looking at the shipping over here. The Armageddon pledge is going to run you, if you're in the US, £23. So you're looking at basically like $190, $180 for this game if you want to get that Armageddon pledge. And you can get away with less than that for sure. You can get the exclusive, what is it, 89? You can get the 79. So you're looking at maybe $100, $130, $125 to get the game at the lowest entry point if you're not willing to wait for retail. I think the game is fun, and I think think it is a fun callback to whatever you grew up with. And if this is a game, if you like a game that has a degree of chaos to it and a degree of nostalgia to it, but is almost more in the party laughing genre. This is like a game that, if you like games like Munchkin, this will fall into that category. I think it's much better than Munchkin. I shouldn't say that. I should not have said that. I've played Munchkin, I've played Worms. I think Worms is much, much better than Munchkin. But the entertainment vibe that's the vibe that the game is. And so that's just a lot of money for a game that's in that vibe. Nostalgia is doing its job just fine. I think this game is good, and I do recommend this game, but recommending it versus recommending it at the price point is a different conversation. In a perfect world, you'd have a chance to try this game and see if it's for you, because I do think it's fun, and it may well be worth that price point to you, but it's just hard to say. Which brings us to the should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? And again, it's a strong question mark in this one. Price point to components alone, price point to gameplay alone, does not do it. Price point to gameplay alone is just, again, much more expensive than the game of this weight class would normally go for. But the flip side is you have the nostalgia factor, you have the IP factor. There is a factor and a benefit to having those things, and those things may do well for it on the secondhand market as we go. But I'm inclined to believe that's going to be more in the vein of, the giant Munchkin Deluxe from, why am I comparing it to Munchkin again in this video? I don't know why I'm doing that. This game is much better than Munchkin. I was going to compare it to like the Munchkin Deluxe from Come On and all that. So I'm skeptical that this will hold its value. I think that it's going to be hard to get your money back on this one if it's not for you. I think if you get it, you will enjoy it, but will you enjoy it to the tune of the cost? That is a different conversation entirely. I would say if you're not a Worms fan, you should pass on this game. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. It is a good game in its own merits, but like half the fun is the feeling of experiencing Worms on your tabletop. So either way, that's going to be Worms the board game from Mantic Games. Skeptical on the value aspect, but I do think it is a fun game, and I did enjoy it. Moving on to we have Peacemakers Horrors of War. Peacemakers Horrors of War, 962 backers, 64,000 euro raised over here. 19 days left to go. This is being a longer 2-back and not-to-back than usual. So it's a good week for those questions. Keep those questions coming in if you want answers. If you don't have any questions, then we'll just make up the questions so that there's something to talk about. But either way, Peacemakers Horrors of War from Snowdale Design is a re-implementation of Dawn of Peacemakers. They're basically taking all the game design knowledge they have under the belt since doing Dawn of Peacemakers, and they're basically saying, hey, we're going to redo this and make it easier to table, cleaner, more accessible, simpler rules, all of that stuff, while maintaining the core concept of Dawn of Peacemakers, which is, as the title implies, a game about making peace. This is a game where you are taking control of various ruffians who are wandering around the battlefield effectively, trying to institute peace between the various factions who are fighting each other, and your goal is to lower their motivation, which is basically what I do with other people on a day-to-day basis, but in this game, that's actually a good thing. You want to lower others' motivation around you. I will be good at this game. But you want to do so in even-handed measures, because if you lower one side's motivation, then that side will surrender. That's not good. If you don't lower either side's motivation, they're going to kill each other, which is going to result in you inflicting horror cards and penalties upon yourself, which does mean it does have a degree of, what's the word for it? A degree of cascading failure, which is a mechanic that I don't love, but I love the idea of the horror card, so it depends on how punishing it can or can't be. But your goal is to ideally lower both sides' motivation, make both sides kind of stumble and not get their goals, and slowly but surely they're not willing to surrender because they're both so defeated, but they are not actually killing each other. You are basically instilling peace by being a horrible, demotivating person to those around you. If only life were that easy. 962 backers, 64,000 euro raised. That's basically what's going on with Dawn of Peacemakers over here. There's a bunch of content creators who have their hands in this. You can take a look at any of their reviews to get a sense of it. I have tried playing the original Dawn of Peacemakers, never actually played it, but I'm very intrigued by this one because I remember I like the concept of that game. This one's going to have 6 scenarios, very simple flip books, and the scenarios are replayable, very different, very replayable as far as how you engage with them, and that's basically what we have for Dawn of Peacemakers. Anything else more than that? We have the promo pack. We have 64 euro for here, which is going to give you the Peacemakers Horrors of War, plus the promo pack, which is more horrors, plus sleeves. Then we have the Peacemakers Horrors of War plus promo pack, which is basically just the core pledge over here, and then we have also pledges for 219 euro or 399 euro for various offerings of previous Snowdale Design stuff, either just the core games or basically everything ever made for Snowdale Designs. We have Dale of Merchants times like 4. Dale of Merchants is a fantastic deck building experience. We have Lands of Galzier, which I've been meaning to try. I've heard nothing but good things about. Well, not nothing. Actually, I think I have heard nothing but good things about it. I think the people I know who've played it have enjoyed it, and the people I know who haven't played it don't really have an opinion on it, which is reasonable. That's how opinions should work. That's not actually how opinions do work. If you go to BGG, people are rating games before they come out. Opinions actually don't require you to play the game for you to have them, but that just would be ideal, I think. Anyways, add-ons and stretch goals? Nope, nothing. The campaign is very simple, very straightforward, very to the point, giving you 33 custom wood anthropomorphic animal figures in the game. That's basically what we have over here. That's Lands of, I almost said Lands of Galzier. That's not Lands of Galzier. That's Peacemakers, Horrors of War from Snowdale Designs over on Gamefound for the next, what was it, 12 days, 17 days, 19 days left to go. Then we have over on Kickstarter, we have Colossal Cat in the Box, $124,000 raised, 1,800 backers, 25 days to go. Colossal Cat in a Box is basically Cat in a Box, but larger, and with new expansions. And this game is not... It bothers me. The expansion things bother me, but I get it. I do. Colossal Cat in a Box is Cat in a Box, but it's 4 times larger. This is a trick-taking game that relies on the fact that you kind of make up reality as you go, just like in real life as we do that. But in the game, you're going to be playing tricks, but as you play a card, you say, this is a red 7. And you just say it's a red 7. And you also mark that the red 7 is no longer in play because you decided that it's the red 7, which I love that concept. It means you genuinely create reality as you navigate, but also sometimes you say things like, oh no, I don't have any more blue cards, so instead I'm going to break suit in a trick-taking game. But if you say you have no more blue cards, then now you can no longer play blue cards because you've created reality. You've shifted and adjusted reality as you go. That's how Colossal Cat in a Box works, or that's how Cat in a Box works. Colossal Cat in a Box is larger, comes with bigger components, deluxe-fied components. It comes with a bunch of various plushies, well, depending on what pledge level you get. So it comes with a larger cat to begin with, a first player marker, and then it comes with 2 different plushie options depending whether you pay $20 or $40 more to get your hands on that giant oversized Cat in a Box plushie, which granted I want, but not to the tune of $40. It also, though, problematically, it comes with 2 new expansions, which means this Colossal Cat in a Box is not just a bigger version of the game, which I think is cool, but also not for me. Rather, it's a bigger version of the game with 2 expansions that you can't otherwise get your hands on. There's going to be String Theory, which lets you connect numbers more easily. String Theory is going to give you more connection points between the various numbers on those boards, and there's going to be the Doppler effect, which basically halves your chance of having a, there's a word for it. I can't remember the word. But basically when you have a, oh my gosh, I have to scroll down. There's a word in the game when you have something happen, you have a crisis, but it's not called a crisis, it's called a thing else. What's it called? It's going to be over here, paradox, okay? Basically in the game, sometimes you have a concept called a paradox, which is when you have to play a card, but you can't play the card because those numbers are all taken. And therefore, your card, which could arguably have been a blue 2, can't be a blue 2, can't be a red 2, can't be a yellow 2, can't be a green 2, which means it can be nothing, and that creates a paradox and triggers the end of the round. Doppler effect gives you more numbers in the spaces, lessening your chances of that happening. For players who didn't like the paradox mechanic, I was always mixed on the paradox mechanic because I like it, but I do acknowledge that it can sometimes have this aspect of feeling like the bad play of somebody else changes whether you got the right amount of tricks because somebody else ran out of cards earlier. So paradoxes were an interesting aspect of the game that I kind of wish I had the Doppler effect expansion and the String Theory expansion in my smaller, less gigantic version of Cat in the Box, but also as much as I want a giant, larger version of Cat in the Box, shelf space is a premium, and I think the game works just fine in its smaller, more portable, travelable form. So I'm just going to be sad about 2 expansions that I don't have, and that's just going to be the way life works, and the plushie for that matter. But that's basically what we have for Cat in the Box over here, a giant Cat in the Box. Now, a key note here is this game is entirely Kickstarter exclusive. So whether you're buying it at $59 for the game, whether you're buying it $79 for the plushie, or $99 for the larger plushie, this game is entirely, oh and yes, you can get some of those things extra on their own as well if you want them. So, you know, if you want the large plushie, but you also want the small plushie, that'll be an extra $25, thank you very much. But as far as past that, the game is Kickstarter exclusive. So unless they do another reprint in the future, this game is going to fall into the camp of should you back it, should you not? Sadly, yes, I think. I mean, I'm not saying you should back it. What I am saying is this game is a well-liked game. It has been very well received, has gotten very good ratings. It is a good trick-taking game. It's also Kickstarter exclusive. And the combination of those 2 things means that I don't think there's going to be a huge audience for this game, but there clearly is an audience for this game. And if this game is not going to retail, anyone who wants to have large Cat in a Box is going to have to go through someone who bought it during the crowdfunding campaign. Which means if you are buying this game hoping it's a game for you and not sure if it is or isn't, in general, whenever I talk about should you back or should you not, will it hold its value, there's always some camp people that think I'm talking about like, oh, go ahead and spend money on these games to make money. No, if you're trying to do that, do Lorcana cards or the stock market or something like that. I'm just talking about the nature of trying to buy games and having the confidence that if it's not a game for you, at least you can get some of your money back. So you can buy these games that are more expensive and don't come for a year and there are more of a gamble, and you can do so knowing that you're not always paying a whole chunk of money and you'll get one play out of it and then nothing else out of it. If a game isn't for you, I like the idea that you can move it on to the next person, you can trade it, you can sell it, you can do something beneficial with it. And so if you're buying Cat in the Box, Giant Colossal Cat in the Box, I do think this is one that you could move on down the road and probably get most of your money back. Plushie is always a question mark for me. I haven't looked into the secondhand market on plushies enough, so that one's more of a question mark. But I think the $59 pledge for it, as much as you're paying a lot more for a cheaper game, it is still the only option to get the larger version of the game. From there we move on to the last game of the week, Potions of Azerland. 406 backers, $38,000 raised, 27 days to go. Potions of Azerland is coming to you from Warped Reality Games. It's their first game, so Warped Reality Games. This is coming to you from Gray Baker, 2 times WSBG champion. Remember that WSBG we talked about earlier this time? Gray Baker won I want to say Splendor and Dune Imperium, if I'm not mistaken. So he is the world champion. I went to the wrong page there. He is the world champion of Potions of he's the world champion of Splendor and Dune Imperium. That's going to be the designer of Potions of Azerland, and also illustrated by Andrew Bosley for that matter. But Potions of Azerland is a game that's going to take place across 6 rounds. You're trying to build potions to satisfy customers. You're going to be trying to enhance your own potion making skills as you try to gather resources, as you go to market each round. You're going to be taking these this little kind of a turn order predictor where you try to prioritize what's most important to you, and then everyone reveals it at once, and you see who basically went to which spot first to get first access to anything from the market, to gathering a customer, to gathering resources, all of that as you go. So you're trying to get a degree of kind of silent bidding to get stuff, then crafting and brewing potions, trading those in for customers, getting various rewards, hopefully leveling up your tracks so you can be better at using potions for other side benefits as you go. A whole lot of things going on in this 6-round Euro game that's going to take 60 to 90 minutes to play through it. Also has a solo mode. You can check out Jenna from the Board Game Garden, who played through this game solo, and there's a bunch of other content on the game. I should have coverage of the game before the campaign ends, probably. I just need to get my hands on a copy first, but I have a longer story. I should have coverage of the game before the campaign ends. But either way, the game is going to be $49 for the base game over here. That's going to be the retail version of the game. The game is going to be $79 for the everything in the base game pledge, plus the wooden resource tokens, the wood cauldrons, the dual layer player boards, wooden tokens, all the upgrades and deluxifications you can typically expect to see in one of these games. And then they have the art exclusive for $99 over here, which is going to give you everything in the prior pledge, plus an exclusive art print signed by Andrew Bosley. And then lastly over here, we have for $600, we have 12, and it's not really 12. I was a little confused by this one over here, because it says 12 over here, but it says, oh, it is, no, never mind, it is 12. There are 12 spots available. I thought this said only 5. Oh, it is, I am right, okay. I'm right, they're wrong. We got this. I'll explain. So basically, there are 12 spots open for anyone who wants to get themselves painted into the game, drawn into the game as a furry friend. It will be, matching the style, the art, all that stuff. Hopefully it does not, either way, we'll scroll down. I'll show you some things there. But past that, over here it says there's 5 spots open. I was confused because it said 5 spots open and there were 6 backers, and I was like, wow, someone managed to get in the 2 people back at once. But it's really there are 12 spots, and that 5 is a mistake over there. So there are 12 spots for $600. You get everything in the base pledge above it, and you're basically going to be in the game as well if you want to be illustrated as a character by Andrew Bosley. And if you want an idea of what that looks like over here, down at the bottom, Professor Meg already got illustrated into the game, so you can see Professor Meg. You've probably seen her on the channel, and she is illustrated into the game over there with a little pup Mifa on the card. So you can get a sense of how you're going to be incorporated into the game. But past that, as far as should you back it, should you not, will it hold its value? Hard to say in this one, especially as a new publisher. I think they're doing everything right. They're making a premium production game. Like, I get Elf Creek vibes from this, and I am partially saying that, granted, because of Andrew Bosley, but there are, like this game looks deluxe. It looks well done. It's well illustrated. It's got a deluxe version. All those things are done right. The question is going to be, what's the retail availability, and is there enough demand for the game? Because as much as they're doing things right over there, 410 backers is not a huge level of demand, and that demand or lack thereof also translates into the secondhand market. So I am kind of skeptical that this one will hold its value, although it depends, because it's a tricky spot. I think the game will be well received, but you also need a critical mass of how many people received it well for it to show up on a forum post here and a thing there, and for people to sit there and say, I want to get my hands on a copy of Potions of Azerland and pay for that deluxe version down the road. So, and then of course there's the retail availability as well. I think this one will be picked up by a distributor if they haven't already made terms with whatever, because I think, again, good game, well produced, they're doing everything right. The amount of times that I've seen a game that is great but just doesn't look great from a new creator, that happens all the time, and they really are doing everything right. So I think this one will be picked up. But I am not at all certain about whether it'll hold its value, just because the demand currently isn't there. In terms of the crowdfunding campaign, 410 backers, it just means down the road how much demand is there. So I'm skeptical, and I'd say it's definitely a risk. And that is basically everything we have, which means it is time for the picks of the week. Picks of the week, as usual, we do 2 picks of the week. We do one game that I think is the most likely to hold its value, not the game that is the best dollar for gameplay, all that. It's just literally what's the most likely to hold its value. And then secondly, I do a pick of the week of my personal interest pick of the week, the game that I am most interested in sitting down and tabling or getting or having show up in one way or another. As far as my value pick of the week, I need to find it here because I could have, oh, here we go. Colossal Cat in the Box is going to be my value pick of the week. I'm questioning whether I'm wrong in this one, but I think a good game, a specific version of a good game, and Kickstarter limited production, I think those 3 combine to give you a game that likely will hold its value down the road. If this is a game that's not for you, I think you can probably get your $59 plus shipping and all of that back on that. This is specific to the pledge without plushies, I haven't looked enough into plushes and how those translate on the secondhand market. And if you look for my personal interest pick of the week, that's going to be Peacemakers, Horrors of War from Snowdale Design. This game is a game I wanted to play the original back in the day, and I just found it was a little too confusing, and I just kind of gave up and moved on. But the style, the presentation, it seems unique, it seems different. I am very, very interested in tabling this one. Peacemakers, Horrors of War from Snowdale Design is definitely my personal interest pick of the week. Look how beautiful, look at the art, the presentation, the anthropomorphic meeples, all those things just line up to a game that I want to table. As far as games coming up next week, usually I only do 2, but this week I'm doing 4 for a very specific reason. First of all, we have Rogue Angels. Rogue Angels will be launching on Kickstarter, launching September 4th, so that means tomorrow. Tomorrow is launching tomorrow for you. That's going to be a large campaign game. I've had a chance to play this one, only one scenario. I like the one scenario. Again, does not translate into a review. That translates into interest. I am interested in seeing more of Rogue Angels. Then we also have the Isofarian Guard launching September 4th as well. Again, on Tuesday, over on Gamefound, we have 10,000 people following the campaign. This is going to be a 1.5 version of the Isofarian Guard. And then the 2 other picks are because I just did upcoming crowdfunding campaigns for September, and I forgot to talk about 2 of them that I'm actually covering, and I knew they existed and I forgot to talk about them. We have Mythic Mischief coming, I believe, September 12th, if I'm not mistaken, from Ivy Games, and then we have Fromage coming again, I believe, September 12th from Road to Infamy. Those are going to be 2 additional games that are just coming up, not this week, but like next week, and I just want to say about those things because I feel bad because I knew those things existed and I still somehow forgot to talk about them. And that is everything that we have. That has been a long 2-back, not 2-back. It's been a while since we had an hour-long one of these, and that's with me cutting a few campaigns, by the way. I've saved a few for future weeks. We'll get them later. There's no rush. But that is everything. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Don't forget to put any and all questions down below, just because we'll have a thing coming next week or later this week, answering all those questions. And as always, I hope you have a good one. I just found out that Albert Einstein was a real person. All this time I thought he was a theoretical physicist.